Good day, everyone. My name is Jim Barton, and I am a software architect working with the Church Research Council to create a curated digital directory of churches of Christ in the United States. You can learn more about this initiative at the CRC's website, which you can find at crc-coc.org. Again, crc-coc.org. So the roots of this project run very, very deep. If you take a look, here, you can see a book that was published all the way back in 1957 called "Where the Saints Meet." And this was a directory of congregations of churches of Christ at that time. You can actually download a copy of it here from the Abilene Digital Commons at this website. And it's very interesting. Obviously, the book is out of print now, but you can download the full text of this original version here. Now, more recently, publication of this book was picked up by 21st Century Christian, and so they published a book that was updated every few years called Churches of Christ in the United States. And so this book was published up until 2018. Then obviously the pandemic hit a couple of years after that, and so there's been a lapse in publishing since then. In fact, this version is no longer in print, but as it says here, the hope is to produce a new version of this printed edition in later in 2026. So a printed version of this directory is something that is valuable, but we also need a digital version of it, something that can be accessed via the internet and then continually updated to reflect changes in the church landscape. The Church Research Council is working with 21st Century Christian and the Christian Chronicle and other organizations associated with the Stone Campbell Restoration Movement in order to produce this new digital directory. And that's what I'm pleased to demonstrate to you here briefly today. If you'd like to follow along, you can do that by pointing your web browser at this address, the one you see on my screen here, app.crc-coc.org. Again, app.crc-coc.org. For best results at this time, I recommend you use a laptop or a desktop computer, number one, and then you'll also need a connection to the public internet in order to see this. I have used this service with a mobile phone, but it's really quite a bit more challenging due to the smaller screen sizes. So at this point, you'll have the best experience using a proper computer with a healthy internet connection, and of course, access for the service completely open to the public and completely free. So once you have pointed your web browser at this location, app.crc-coc.org, you'll see a Google Maps display of the United States like the one that's on my screen right now. Um, and the first feature you'll notice is that churches are represented in sort of three different fashions. Some are represented via a single pin that you can see here, like these churches that are in more isolated locations. And then you'll see other sort of color-coded representations of where churches are grouped together due to a larger number being in a small geographic area. So you can think of it as kind of a heat map. The yellow circles are areas that have a smaller number of churches, typically less than 30. You can see the numbers here. And then the orange circles are a little hotter, if you will, and they represent larger clusters of churches. And you'll see a lot of those are clustered in areas, in particular the South, or in larger cities where there are larger clusters of churches of Christ. So, we can directly, well, first of all, you can zoom in and out here just as you would with normal Google Maps. You can go up and down on the map using these controls here. You can hit the plus button. You can zoom in. You can move around. Let's zoom in a little farther. And then you can choose individual churches if you'd like, and you can see. So this is a church in North Dakota. This is the Minot Church of Christ. You can see the contact information. You can see the website there. So if you'd like to go visit their website, You can do that and learn more about them. You can also see some information about their ministry, sometimes their beliefs, with these codes that have actually been published for decades now in this directory. So if you click on that, you can see this is primarily a military congregation, which is not real surprising given that you can see here on the map that the Minot Air Force Base is located just on the north side of town. So it's an interesting way to explore that way. But we can also go back at any time. We can reset this map to the top level, and then we could drill into some of these bubbles and learn about some other locations. So here, for example, here is a bubble that I'm personally very familiar with on the South Carolina coast. One that I am pretty fond of. So we can zoom in here, and you'll notice as we zoom into tighter levels, we'll get search results over here that will have a number of churches shown just with the summary information there. And so we can choose one of those. I'm going to choose one where my wife and I used to be a part of. And so this is near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You can see the name of it's the Grand Strand Church of Christ. Again, you can see the information there about the church. You can see a picture of it. Some of the or a lot of the entries in this directory do have photos associated with them, and so we display those whenever they're available. And then there's also a link to their website again when there's a website available, and so you can learn more about what's going on at this church. So so that's very interesting. But there are also other ways that you can explore churches. I mean, this has actually been a really fun way for me to explore churches in my own local area. So a few years ago, my wife and I moved to near Little Rock, Arkansas, and so I can go up here in this text box, in addition to sort of navigating around using Google Maps controls. I can go in here and I can type Little Rock. I can hit the search button, and when I do that, it's going to give me a pretty wide view of a number of churches that have something related to Little Rock in the name. So you can see there's a church here near Nashville called the Little Rock Church of Christ, not in Little Rock, Arkansas, but near Nashville. And then there's another one down here in Mississippi called the Duffy Church of Christ that happens to be located in Little Rock, Mississippi. But let's say I specifically I want to find out more about churches in my area, so I can click on one of these bubbles here, and I can zoom in and I can see a number of churches that are located in the Little Rock area. I can navigate around. I can find one that's it's actually my home church, and there that is. Again, there's a website available for that, so I can click through and learn more about what's going on there. So those are just some of the ways that you can zoom around, navigate, search through this map. Fairly simple techniques that are pretty easy to pick up, but with a little more advanced user capabilities, there are also other some other search secrets that I'd like to share with you. And with a little bit of extra work, you can combine some of these search capabilities in some pretty interesting ways. So let me start with another example that's close to my heart. So my wife and I volunteer with a ministry with a cappella ministries with a group called Praise and Harmony. So you might have heard of Praise and Harmony. It's large groups of singers who record a cappella music at least once or twice a year. And our one of our goals is for next year to have over 1,000 voices that participate in this large group recording. And so let's say I'd like to look for churches that perhaps could host such an event, because obviously not every church building can handle 1,000 people. So let's see how we could use this directory to do something like that. So let's go back into our search window here. And so there's a little language you can use to do all kinds of searching based on city, state, a certain belief or ministry codes. A lot of options here, but one of the ways you can search is via attendance. So if you're looking for a church, perhaps a smaller church or a larger church to learn more about, this is a way you could do that. So I'm looking for churches that could potentially host one of these large singing events. So maybe I need to find something where the attendance is larger than 1,000. And so that's one of the statistics that we track where it's available. And so you can see here when I click through that. So I want to see if where there are congregations that could host events such as that. So I type here in my search box, I type attendance, which is one of the statistics that's tracked here, where attendance is greater than 1,000. And so you get back a collection of churches. Not surprisingly, it's mostly located in the South, in Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee. And in this particular case, I know that I'm looking for churches that are in the state of Oklahoma. So is there a way I could refine this search to let me see something like that? So if I look for attendance greater than 1,000, and I say state is equal to, in this case, I'll just use the abbreviation, OK. Could also type out Oklahoma if you wanted to. And we search on that. Then you can see it's going to zoom in and it's going to show the three churches in the state of Oklahoma who all have memberships of greater or attendance of greater than 1,000. And so there's some information. Again, there's a website. There's a website like before. We can drill in on that and learn more about that church. You can also see this particular church has a larger set of ministry codes. It's a larger congregation, so it's not surprising. Prison ministry, campus ministry, because there's a university nearby, and also assigned services for the hearing impaired. So you can also use these codes as the basis for other sorts of advanced queries. We've had people who've requested that for various things, like for example, maybe I'd like to find churches that primarily serve the military, like before they're near a military base, or perhaps you have a child who's going off to college and you'd like to find churches that have a campus ministry like this one. So, let's say, for example, your child is going to college in the state of, I'll use Arkansas, since that's where I live. And let's also add to this. We'll look for code. That's our keyword, if you will, that lets us zoom in on a specific ministry and belief code. So we'll say code like CM. So you can see like the one that's selected here for CM for campus ministry, and we'll search on that, and that will show us all of the churches in the state of Arkansas that have responded to a survey and said that they have a campus ministry. So, for example, here's one that the church where that I attend supports, which is the Southwest Church in Jonesboro near Arkansas State University. And again, you can click through their website and learn more about their ministries, including specifically this college ministry. So it's an easy way to sort of navigate around and find things. You may also want to use this to locate other kinds of codes as well. So, for example, let's say, actually, let's look at everything. Let's look at every congregation in the state of Arkansas. So it looks like about 250 that are in our database currently. And so let's say we're looking for maybe churches in our area that have Spanish language services. So the code for that is the letter S. So we can say if the code is like S, the state is Arkansas. And if you watch when I click the search button, the number is going to shrink, right? So there are obviously fewer who churches who have that kind of ministry. But again, we can drill down on one of them. We can there you can see the S code and also campus ministry code. We can click through that link. We can find more information about that church, including a translation of their website into Spanish. So very nice if you're looking for a church that has that kind of those kinds of language services. So a couple of other little features here I want to point out. Um, First of all, one of the things that we know is most important here is we don't have any delusions about the information here being 100% accurate. We know that things change, especially after COVID. A lot of churches have changed. We've tried to keep up with that as best we can, but we have a small team of data curators, and they're not able to keep up with all that's going on. And so churches close, churches merge, churches new churches are planted, and we're not always able to keep up with that. So we definitely want to invite your support if there's a way if you'd like to support this initiative. One very concrete, specific thing that you can do is to just investigate the churches in your area, right? The ones that you have personal knowledge of, and then if you find some discrepancy in the data, or perhaps there's a church we don't know about, or one that's closed or merged, then you can have a mechanism where you can send us information about that. So you'll notice here when you have a church that's selected, there's a button here called feedback. So you can click on that feedback button, and you can see it shows what church is selected there, and then you can provide your feedback like address has changed, as of 2025, new address is, and so forth. And that information will be sent to our data curators. They'll do their best to verify that and then update the database so that this is a resource that becomes a living resource and not just something that's published on paper that becomes out of date within a few years. So we definitely invite your participation in this project to help out our small team of data curators investigate changes or places where this information is no longer accurate. Okay, so let's cancel out of that for now. A couple of other these codes I want to go back and show you. So let's zoom back out to the full state of Arkansas. All right, there we go. So there's every church associated with the Stone Campbell Restoration Movement in the state of Arkansas. And so there are other codes that a lot of our users really care about that identify particular beliefs of certain churches of Christ. So, for example, let's say you are looking for a non-institutional church. So there's a specific code for that that's been published in these directories over the years, and that code is NI, or non-institutional. So we can search that, and if you watch when we hit the search button, the number of churches again is going to shrink to a smaller number. And if you zoom in on one of these, I'll just choose one at random, and you get the information, and you can see that this is listed as a non-institutional church. There are other codes that are similar in nature. For example, if you're looking for a one cup church, you can also find those very easily with this directory too. So I hope this is a tool that you find helpful. It's certainly something we've spent some time in building, and we hope it will be a resource for you and for your friends and your brothers and sisters for many years to come. Again, we invite your participation by using the feedback mechanism that's provided here to help us keep the information accurate about the more than, as you can see, as you can see here, the more than 10,000 churches that are being tracked in this database currently. So, thank you very much for your time in watching this video. We sincerely hope that this directory of churches in the Stone Campbell Restoration Movement will be something that will be a blessing to you and to your family, and we look forward to your feedback. If you'd like more information, feel free to reach out to us on our website, again, crc-coc.org, or send us email at info@crc-coc.org. Again, info@crc-coc.org. Thank you all very much, and we appreciate your time.